Hey guys, in today's video we will be talking about remakes, specifically Mario remakes, as we will be discussing every remake in Nintendo's history, going from Mario Allstars to 3D All-Stars, and rating them from how much they changed from their predecessors and how much it mattered to the company. So without further ado, let's begin with the aforementioned Super Mario All-Stars. The year is 1993. The Super Nintendo is 3 years into its lifespan, and after the success of Mario World, Nintendo knew if they wanted to beat Sega in the Sega Genesis, they needed another hit, and that's where Mario All-Stars came in. Mario All-Stars is one of the first video game remakes ever made, and the game that popularized remakes in the video game industry, with this game selling 10.55 million copies, the SNES's second highest selling game of all time. Being one of the first remakes, this game didn't really have a blueprint to follow, and so it took an interesting approach. Mario All-Stars includes Mario 1, Mario 2, Lost Levels, and Mario 3, with all these games being enhanced to 16-bit graphics, a stark difference from today, as each game would look the exact same as before. Later on, Mario All-Stars would go on to re-release in the player's choice, and in certain regions re-release again, this time featuring Super Mario World along with the other games in the collection. And even later in 2010, this game would re-release for the Wii, this time including a history booklet of Mario and a CD containing songs and sound effects from the game. Mario All-Stars includes many quality of life changes, like multiple save slots for each game, a level title card, and starting with 5 lives instead of 3, along with a boatload of other changes, all of which show Nintendo really went all out for their first remake, and I'd say it definitely paid off, and I'll rate this game 9 stars out of 10. Really solid. But that's all stuff everybody knows. To really find the best remakes, we need to dig deeper to our next game, that being Donkey Kong 1994, or Donkey Kong 94 for short. And I know what some of you are saying, like how this isn't really a remake, and I would be inclined to agree with you, but the Mario Wiki says so, and it does include levels from the original. I also just really want to talk about Donkey Kong 94, so we're gonna do it. Donkey Kong 94 was released on the Game Boy in 1994, and the Game Boy was one of the first consoles released with worse graphics than its predecessor, for obvious reasons of course, it being a handheld. But Nintendo was tasked with making a great game with less power. I think they did a really good job, as Donkey Kong 94 would go on to sell 3 million copies and be the console's 17th best-selling game. The game starts with levels from its arcade version, this time with new moves including the handstand jump and the hammer toss, allowing you to carry a hammer to higher paths, which I find really cool. But this game really opens up after you beat the arcade levels, as it turns into a puzzle platformer where you need to find the key to unlock the door at the end, with a total of 90 levels, each challenging your skills and intelligence. This game may be one of my favorite Game Boy games, as the controls are a stark improvement from its arcade counterpart, with each level being really fun and interesting and a lot of variety in its 10 worlds. I would even say comparing this to its arcade version does a serious disservice to this game, as in terms of gameplay this blows the arcade version out of the water, and it has some pretty catchy tunes. This remake would go on to inspire its own series, that being the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which I hear is pretty divisive in the Mario community, but we'll be getting to one of those games shortly. But overall, Donkey Kong 94 is a perfect way to remake an old classic, and gets 10 stars out of 10. Really, really good. Alright, so this next entry may be a little weird, and may make you think that this isn't even a remake, but the Mario Wiki doesn't lie, and neither do I. Anyways, the year is 1999. And the video game industry has changed. Sega was 2 years away from going third party, and with that rose a new giant, PlayStation, a company that joined the video game industry in the ashes of a failed deal with Nintendo, and in that ash claimed popularity never seen before. And during this time, Nintendo released the Game Boy Color, an 8-bit console you could play on the go, and with that console came our next game, Super Mario Deluxe. As you may have noticed, most of the remakes I'll be talking about are on mobile systems, and that's for a lot of reasons, like the allure of playing home console games on the go, and the fact that not that many companies are going to want to spend a big budget on mobile games. And trust me, there's going to be a lot more mobile games to talk about. But back to Mario Deluxe, this game was released on May 10th, 1999, and is the 10th best-selling Game Boy and Game Boy Color game of all time, with it also selling 5 million copies. This game is pretty simple, as it is just a remake of the original Mario Bros, with everything kept mostly identical. The physics are the same, but in this game Mario has the ability to look down and the incredible ability to go backwards. Not really. By now you probably noticed the main issue with this game, that being the screen crunch, and yeah, it's bad. I mean, there's a reason you need to look down in this game, but for some reason in this era, screen crunch was a big issue with ports. and I can't really tell you why, as the previous game we discussed, Donkey Kong 94, had no such issues. But moving aside from that, Mario Deluxe has a world map between levels and a versus mode where you can race through levels, which I think is pretty cool, and challenge mode where you can race to the end as fast as possible. But that's really all the content, and I think this is probably the first and only Mario remake that is actually worse than the original game, and overall worthy of about 4 stars out of 10, but hey, at least it's mobile. Next up, we don't just have one game, we don't just have 2 games, and we don't even have 3 games. We have the Mario Advance Tetralogy. Here are the stats for the Mario Advance games, and honestly, I'm really surprised. I mean, I know they're Mario games, but the only things that are ahead of them on the list are Pokemon and Mario Kart is pretty interesting. Another interesting thing is which game is in which, as Mario Advance 1 includes the US Mario 2, and Mario Advance 2 includes Mario World. And the weird part is Mario 3 isn't until Mario Advance 4, and Mario Advance 3 is Yoshi's Island, and I really have no clue why they did like this. Maybe they didn't expect the series to do so well, and just wanted to skip to the good part, that being Mario World. But it is interesting that Yoshi's Island is here, as I don't even really consider it a Mario game, although it is called Mario World 2. Let me know what you guys think. Is Yoshi's Island a Mario game? And why did they make the Mario Advance Tetralogy so confusing? On to the actual game. For Mario Advance 1, it includes Mario 2 and Mario Bros, a remake of the original Mario Bros, but we'll discuss that later. Mario 2 is the same old Mario 2 with an intro cutscene that shows the group plucking out the title card and updated graphics. It also includes voice lines, and so does every Mario Advance game. From voice lines like to and even. But I really do like that they fixed the screen crunch issues, and while it isn't like home console, it's certainly a lot better than Mario Deluxe. Mario Advance 2 is pretty similar, with it also including the original Mario Bros. And voice lines, but the intro cutscene is a lot more in depth, showing Mario and Luigi flying around before discovering Peach is missing. And you can play as Luigi anytime by pressing R in the world map. You can also save at any time, and when getting hit, you go back to Super instead of having to catch the mushroom. All great quality of life additions, although the colors are a bit worse than the original, and the music is also worse, but overall, pretty solid. Now for Mario Advance 3, it's not changed much. Like all the others, it comes with the original Mario Bros, but since Yoshi's Island already had an intro cutscene and voice lines and 16-bit graphics, there's really not much they could add, or much for me to say. Last up is Mario Advance 4, and it has all the Mario Advance prerequisites, like an intro cutscene showing the kings being overthrown by the Koopalings, and just to note, this cutscene is really sick. But for the gameplay, you can now save and return to the map from the pause menu, which is really cool, and the Mario sprite is different from the one from Mario Allstars, this time including Mario's white gloves, but overall, just another addition to the Mario Advance series. And now for ratings. I'll give the first and fourth Mario Advance game 7 stars out of 10, because they add a lot graphically since the original games were 8-bit, and the quality of life features are an incredible addition, along with smooth physics. I'm giving Mario Advance 2 6 stars out of 10, as it just adds the original Mario Bros, an intro cutscene, and quality of life updates. And that just leaves Mario Advance 3 with 5 stars, as it is a slightly worse version of the SNES game, carried by the fact that it's now portable. But overall, the Mario Advance series is pretty good. Not bad. And now that I'm done with the Advance series, I might as well talk about Mario Bros. This game was originally released with Mario Advance 1, but was later re-released to the rest of the Mario Advance series, and Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Now this game, being based off the Mario Bros, had lots to improve, and I'd say they did a pretty good job, as the controls are really smooth, especially compared to the arcade counterpart, as Mario's sprite is changed to look a lot more like Mini Mario, and the stage is bigger, as the camera can't even fit it all, with the remake also having detailed backgrounds which fit each level theme. They also replaced Koopas with Spinies, added cool background music, and the greatest addition of them all, getting rid of that stupid walking sound. I mean, just listen. Overall, a solid but short game that improves on all fronts, getting 8 stars out of 10. But now it's time for things to change, as we're in the year 2004, and with the release of the Nintendo DS, Nintendo wanted to go back to their bread and butter when it comes to mobile console releases, and that's to release a remake, which we got in Mario 64 DS. Mario 64 DS was released in 2004 and sold 11 million copies, and is the 10th highest selling DS game of all time. The game begins differently from the original, with Mario, Luigi, and Wario showing up to Peach's castle before getting kidnapped, in which you have to start the game playing as Yoshi. a cool twist that sets up the idea of playing as multiple characters and using their unique abilities. As for the King Bomb fight, Yoshi has to spit back bombs instead of throwing King Bomb like Mario can. And to unlock Mario, Luigi, and Wario, you have to fight bosses all new to this game, one of which being Goom Boss from Paper Mario, a reference I think is really cool. And the level you play to get him is one of my favorites in this game, with the other two bosses, King Boo and Chief Chili, having their own cool levels too. Mario 64 DS includes 150 stars, which is 30 more than the 120 stars in the original Mario 64. Mario 64 DS also includes touchscreen controls, but let's be real guys. It also includes the Power Flower, giving each character their own special ability, that being giving Mario the P-Balloon, making Luigi invisible, turning Wario metal, and allowing Yoshi to breathe fire. This allows every character to feel useful, but if we're being real, Luigi is just the best character, as he jumps a lot higher and his backflip gives him the swirls. The only downside is that he can't wall jump, a small price to pay for such power. Mario 64 DS also includes a host of minigames, which you find from character-specific rabbits. These minigames are really cool, from Yoshi trying to find love, to finding Luigi, to Luigi running a casino, which was my favorite as a kid. I even maxed out the coins in one of them. Mario 64 DS is really good, as it takes an already outstanding game and boosts the graphics and content by a country mile, and deserves 10 out of 10 stars. I mean, it's just amazing. And with that, we wait, as the next remake wouldn't happen for 13 years, and this could be for a bunch of reasons, like the failure of the Wii U, or the initial failure of the 3DS, or maybe the initial failure was because of the lack of a remake. Who knows, but my real theory is that in this day and age, Nintendo drops remakes when a console is near its end. I mean, just look at the Switch, but we'll talk more about that soon. Back to the remake, it would eventually be released as Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. And while I'm at it, I might as well talk about Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. To start, the intro cutscene is different, showing the Mario Bros jumping through a theater instead of a suitcase falling from the sky. This game and Bowser's Inside Story use Dream Team's art style, an interesting choice. Many of the Bros attacks in this game have been updated in small ways, with neon circles helping with timing. And the biggest change in Bros attacks is Fire Bros, as Mario shoots fire into a ball, which Luigi hits at the end, instead of Luigi hitting all the balls Mario produces into the enemies. There are some other small changes, like being able to save wherever you want, and the ability to speed up cutscenes. Both amazing inclusions, just like the updated OST. And they updated some boss fights, like Ludwig, as you spend the entire time countering one supreme attack, and the final boss, which is very different from its original counterpart, as it's now a 3D model, and Cackleta's hand now easily displays which is weak to each of the elemental hands, and halfway through, Cackleta turns red, which is exclusive to the remake, in which her damage is increased. And when you defeat her, you get a long drawn out death animation that's honestly pretty sick, especially compared to the Game Boy version. And speaking of consoles, since this is on the 3DS, you now have a bottom screen that allows you to access the map easier, along with the menu and save options. But the biggest addition to this game is the Bowser's Minion portion of the title, which allows you access to the greatest group, which includes Goomba, Koopa, Shy Guy, Boo, Dude on the Cloud. Okay, but in all seriousness, these characters are really fun. Like Shy Guy, I really like his personality, and Goomba is a really endearing character, and the story is great too, showing Goomba navigate the Bean Bean Kingdom and search for Bowser, in which you learn new lore, like how Popple found Bowser, and you can meet up with Professor Egad. What's really the highlight is the growth this Goomba has during the story, as he becomes a great leader for Bowser's troops, and even trains Bowser Jr. in this game's sequel. The gameplay is a departure from the standard Mario & Luigi formula, and takes the approach of a battle simulator, where you pick your minions and they fight on their own, with multiple waves of enemies, and on the bottom screen there are abilities that you can use, like Rally, which ups the chance for special attacks, and Deny, which stops the opponents from using their special attacks, which is pretty cool. There's also a rock paper scissors aspect, with ranged, melee, and flying minions, but I think the best part is the special minions that you can unlock, like the Koopalings, Prince Peasley, and the Shifty Guy from Mario Party 8. These cameos are really cool additions that make the army feel more alive. But overall, the battle system is just good enough that it will keep you going so you can experience the shockingly good story. Moving along to the sequel, we have Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. And yes, I know they skipped partners in time. It's kind of like what they did with the Advanced Trilogy, but since these didn't sell that well, they couldn't loop back around. And speaking of sales, I might as well cover them now, is what I would say, but I can't find them. You see, most lists includes the top 50 best-selling games, and that hasn't been an issue because, it's Mario, but the list I found courtesy of the video game sales wiki shows Superstar Saga Remake with 500,000 copies, and Bowser's Inside Story with 30,000 copies in Japan. Who knows how much they sold literally everywhere else, but 30,000 in Japan. But it kinda makes sense, Most companies wouldn't want to show such horrible sales, and a not so fun fact is that Bowser's Inside Story Remake is the worst selling Mario game of all time, dethroning even Mario's Time Machine and any Virtual Boy Mario game. And it also killed Alpha Dream, the creator of the Mario and Luigi series, and I actually own this game, meaning I'm the holder of the world's rarest Mario game. But back to Bowser's Inside Story, they also changed the intro cutscene, but I personally think it's worse, but not as bad as most people say. And again, this was given the same brush as the Superstar Saga Remake, as it uses the Dream Team art style, and all the songs are enhanced, with the inclusion of 2 new songs for the 2 penultimate boss battles, that being Dark Fawful and the Dark Star. And I think they're both pretty good, and the giant Bowser segments use 3D models, which I also find pretty good. The not so good is that this game is at 30 FPS, a departure from even the last remake. Another departure is getting rid of the ability to save wherever you want. But moving to the side mode, Bowser Jr.'s Journey's gameplay is almost identical, but instead of multiple captains, you have Bowser Jr. who can take the form of multiple types. Similarly to Bowser's minions, Bowser Jr.'s Journey explains events of the original story, this time including all new villains known as the Best Fitness Friends. And I think they work pretty well as enemies to Bowser Jr.'s, as they really change his viewpoint and really stretch what you can do with the character of Bowser Jr. But I still think the character arc of Captain Goomba was better. Though I still really enjoy this story, I just don't really think the gameplay got much better, if it even got better. But overall, 2 remakes that did a solid job enhancing their original game and including 2 decent side modes. So I'll give the Superstar Saga Remake a 9 out of 10, but I'll be giving the Bowser's Inside Story Remake a 7 out of 10, as the FPS being an inconsistent 30 isn't good, with the side mode feeling like a copy and paste of the Superstar Saga side mode, and it killed Alpha Dream, so yeah. The year is 2020. Fans all across the world sit as they watch the Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, hoping for one thing. But as the Direct goes on, they find their chances almost impossible. Until...
It's me, Mario!
Mario Allstars was released September 18th, 2020, and sold 9 million copies, making it the 22nd best-selling Switch game of all time, which is surprising seeing as it was pulled from shelves on March 31st, only 6 months after it was released. So to say I'm impressed would be an understatement. But about 3D All-Stars, that's the last good thing I had to say about it, as unlike the NES counterpart, all the games look nearly identical to the original version, with only slight upgrades to the quality, and they didn't even include Mario Galaxy 2. 3D All-Stars isn't even really a remake, as it doesn't change enough. I just really want to talk about it. Also, they did include a music player, which is pretty neat. Not exactly like the music player in the Wii version of Mario All-Stars, but at least they did something. Overall, 2 stars out of 10. I mean, just do better. Next up, we have a lightning round, aka the end of lifespan Switch remakes. Just like I said previously, it seems that at the end of a console's lifespan, Nintendo's move nowadays is to remake games, unlike before when remakes started a console, but these remakes are at the Thousand Year Door, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and Mario RPG. So let's begin with the Thousand Year Door, which sold 2.1 million copies and is the 58th best-selling Switch game, which may sound alarming, but this is the Switch, so they have a lot of high-selling games. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door hasn't changed much. The graphics got a nice upgrade, but I will note that the music in this game is a certified banger. Just listen.
Yo! Ah!
So yeah, it's pretty fire. And somebody asked me in the comments about a Paper Mario video, and I can promise that there will be one in the future. But back to the game, TTYD's remake also includes a secret boss, that being Prince Mush. And I think it's pretty cool. He even has his own special theme, and the battle is actually pretty tough. But now let's move on to Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which has sold 1.12 million copies and is the 88th best-selling Switch game. Mario vs. Donkey Kong originated on the Game Boy Advance and received a huge graphical leap, updating to the modern art style of Mario games, and receiving a bunch of new super cool levels that really enhance this game with some cool new level gimmicks to boot. And finally, Mario RPG, which sold 3.31 million copies and is the 44th best-selling Switch game. And I'm really surprised that it is so much higher than the other two, as it's definitely the least known out of the three, as the others have received new games pretty recently, and this remake doesn't really add that much new content besides updated graphics and music, but those are some welcome additions that really make this game feel astonishing. But now it's time to rate the 3. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is 8 stars out of 10, for the sheer leap in graphics alongside 2 new worlds, and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door received 6.5 stars out of 10 for the fact that it adds 1 additional boss fight, and that just leaves Mario RPG with a flat 7 stars out of 10 because frankly it doesn't add anything besides a fun experience, but I guess it is pretty fun, especially if you haven't played before, and the graphic update is pretty good, a lot better than Paper Mario's graphical upgrade. But with that, this is the end of the video. I want to thank everybody who made it this far. My original intent for this video was to bash all the new remakes, but they actually held it pretty well. Better than I thought. And sorry for the uploads taking so long. I'm really trying to crack down on that, but that's enough for me. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all later. Peace!